Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? I'm just going to press a button to say good morning to Mr. Cullen, who's just joined us. Good morning, everyone. I listened back partly to the show yesterday. Don't I speak quickly? Try and slow things down a little bit today. I'm not going to bore you with protracted introductions today. Instead, you might recall that I agreed to use our Friday shows to give you a platform. You might remember that. You might not. There we are. Free Speech Friday. That's what we're calling it. Excuse me, if you have something to say about the industry, about this show, or about anything else, to be honest, please stick around. As soon as the crack begins, which is about 20 minutes time or thereabouts, I'm going to throw open the cyber doors, and assuming you have access to a webcam and a functioning microphone or a smart device, you can join me right here on screen. So if there's something you'd like to say, please let me know. I will post that again at the end of the show as a quick reminder. But you can also find the link at the top of the chat right about now, I hopefully. I'm going to say good morning to Peter and to Leslie as well, who've just joined us. One quick point before I move on. I wanted to say a massive congratulations to the team at AR Demolition, who were crowned Demolition Contractor of the Year at last night's Construction News Specialist Awards. They are pretty much the only industry awards with any real validity and credibility. So it's a big deal if you win one. They really do make you jump through hoops in order to win one. So congratulations to AR Demolition. Congratulations to Richard Dolman and his team. Finally, for now, another quick reminder. We have a Bobcat model up for grabs today. Let's get the lighting right. There you are. You should be able to see that. An S750 skid steer loader. You can see the scale compared to my massive head. That's up for grabs today. And frankly, winning it couldn't really be easier. All you need to do is type the word Bobcat, B-O-B-C-A-T, into the chat to be in with a chance. We'll be drawing that at the very end of the show. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Now, let me just check something quickly because there was a bit of a glitch in the give. No, it's okay. We're all okay. I thought there was a bit of a glitch in the system that we use to collect the entries for our giveaway. We're already up to 7, and I think I counted 7 going through the chat there as we were going. Let me see, just to make sure everybody that arrives a little bit later can join in the fun and games. There we are. That's a reminder of how you enter. Just type Bobcat into the chat for your chance to win. No, okay, those are all responses to our question of the day. I'll come back to those at the end of the show. So, deep breath. It is Friday, the 8th of September. Welcome to the stately pleasure dome that is the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, Komatsu is about to unveil its Smart Quarry system, and we have the lowdown. Develon has developed its first electric mini excavator under its new branding. Wirtgen's super fast superhighway, and giant steps are what you take working on the moon. Those of a certain age will remember that sort of lyrics. Plus, there is, as I've already said, a Bobcat scale model up for grabs. That's what she looks like. Very smart, quite heavy. I'm going to need a new box for it. But yes, just type the word Bobcat into the chat. You can see it going across the bottom of the screen right now. Now, before we get to all of that, let me peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. On this day in 1504, yes, remember it well, Michelangelo's statue of David was unveiled in Florence. In a speech on this day in 1858, Abraham Lincoln reportedly uttered the immortal words, "You may fool all the people some of the time, you can even fool some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time." I'm living proof that he was probably wrong on that. On this day in 1952, Ernest Hemingway published one of my favourite books, The Old Man and the Sea. Anybody else read it? It's very good. In 1960, the movie Psycho aired for the first time across the US. On this day in 1965, a small ad appeared in the Hollywood Reporter newspaper ahead of the formation of the world's first manufactured boy band. 437 young men responded, but only 4 were chosen. And those 4 men became the Monkees. Yeah. In 1966, on this very day, Star Trek premiered on NBC in the States, and on the very same day, completely unrelated, Her Majesty the Queen officially opened the Severn Bridge. In 1981, this very day, 1981, really? Only Fools and Horses premiered on BBC One, and on this day last year, as I'm sure you've seen in the news headlines, Her Maj the Queen died at Balmoral Castle. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of today's question of the day. Yeah, nice, easy question for you for the final week of the show. Final show of the week, even. Week of the show. Are you an early bird or are you a night owl? And I can see a lot of people have already said, because of the nature of their work, they are both. Personally, I'm sure it's an age thing, but I've changed. I used to be a night owl. There was a time when I would happily, and I do mean genuinely happily, work right through the night to get something done. Now, I'd rather get up early and get started that way. Can't do late nights at all. And I reckon I'm also at my most productive between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m., which is probably handy, given that's when I put the show together. But it also means I've probably already peaked. I'm already past my best. But what about you? Let us know in the chat. I'm going to say a very quick good morning to our friend Paul Latham. Haven't seen Paul for a while over in LinkedIn land. Good morning, Paul. Don't forget, there is a prize going on, or a prize draw going on. You can see the details at the bottom. Also going to say good morning to Mick Dalton, who has entered the competition. Good morning to you, Mick. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. And to all of those that have joined us while I wasn't paying attention, like Graham Footy Williams, good morning to you chaps as well. Now, you might be familiar. You might be familiar, you might not, but you might be familiar with Komatsu's Smart Construction System, a suite of technologies designed to deliver greater productivity through greater machine connectivity. We featured it on this show in the past, and I recorded an audio podcast with the Smart Construction folks at the ConExpo before last as well. Still available over on Demolition News Radio, should you so desire. At Balmoral, almost a year ago, Komatsu were quietly speaking about a smart quarry system to bring the same benefits to the extractive sector. Well, yesterday I was given word that Smart Quarry will go live before the end of the year, which makes it the perfect time to show you this.
I'm Craic McGinnis, and I'm Senior Business Solutions Manager of Smart Quarry. Our goal is to help quarries meet their goals and hopefully increase their productivity beyond that. We have 3 levers to help you do that. First is Smart Quarry Study, where we take a look at the quarry's current conditions, equipment, and site, compare it to the business goals, and then make recommendations. That can include trucks, loading tools, haul roads, and even operator methods and hopper sizes. Sometimes it's an on-site observation, but we're doing it more often with aerial images and data from local sources. The next step is to keep these productivity enhancements going by optimizing and troubleshooting on a daily basis. That's where Smart Construction Fleet software and Smart Quarry site products come in. Smart Construction Fleet uses the common smartphone to track load counts, estimate tonnage, and even track highway miles. There are some nice dashboards to see where you're at. It's easy to get started and economical. Smart Quarry site takes that to a whole new level with hardware on your machines for precise measurements in real time. The management software and dashboards are very powerful, enabling you to compare operators, shifts, idle times, and fuel use. It does mapping and tracking, and can even include digital pre-shift inspections to help you reduce paperwork. After the equipment is installed, we will train your operators and managers on how to use it. At Smart Quarry, we want to help you meet your goals and next challenges.
Now, I've seen the smart construction system up close. If that is even half as good, Smart Quarry has the ability to absolutely transform the quarry sector. Mull that over, if you will.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
On yesterday's show, we brought you some excellent and exclusive footage of the massive Liebherr High Reach that I dubbed Big Red. There was a bit of chat afterwards in which I said how much I loved machines decked out all in white. Our main man, Gary Muirhead, responded by saying that a lot of companies are now using black to announce new machines. Well, in addition to being our resident quizmaster and steel wrist superfan, it turns out that Gary can also see the future, because just a few hours after he said that, I received this. I said it yesterday. I love white machines. I love JCB yellow, particularly when it's paired with good old JCB red. But I have to say, they look absolutely stunning. Top job, JCB. Seems I'm not the only one that likes the JCB in black. There is Peter McKenna. Once you go black, there's no looking back, he says. Dan Cullen, those black JCBs look real sexy piece of kit. Andy Darvell says those JCBs look the mutts nuts. Certainly do. Let's have a look. I think black paint. I think black plant looks okay, but it's health and safety thing. Yellow is the best for visibility. You can't see black. Yeah, I have to say, certainly in the depths of winter, I do wonder how visible they would be, although with modern lighting and all those sort of things. Listen, I'm sure JCB have thought of all of that. Now, where were we? Yes, I need one of these. If you were here yesterday, you will know that our new AI newsreader made her professional debut right here on this show. You'll also be aware that she was given a name by none other than our good friend, Mr. Jim Turner. Well, this morning she's back, and this time she's sporting her new name as she brings us some hot news from Develon.
The DX20Z-7 mini excavator is the first mass-produced electric-powered excavator manufactured by Develon, formerly known as Doosan Construction Equipment. This 2-ton excavator combines low noise and zero emissions with the features and performance enhancements that are found on the next-generation DX-7 series family of mini excavators. Retractable tracks allow the new excavator to pass through narrow passages, making it ideal for working in confined spaces or indoor applications such as demolition. Once the excavator reaches the work area, the operator can expand the tracks for better stability and lifting capacity. With its compact dimensions, the DX20Z-7 is an excellent solution for construction and rental companies working in sensitive areas where low noise or nighttime work is necessary. The DX20Z-7 mini excavator is powered by a 20.4 kWh lithium-ion battery pack, with all of the electrical system and components on the machine optimized for work in harsh environments. A quick charger system restores 80% of the battery power after only 80 minutes of charging, while the onboard charger restores the maximum charge after 8 hours of charging.
Yeah, thanks for that, Debbie. Hope to see you next week. Just to let you know, after I did yesterday's show, my eldest son, not Fred, the one that does all the video stuff, my eldest son was going to work late. So I went outside and was talking about the show, and I said, we've got an AI newsreader, and she's been given a name. What's the name? He said. And I said, Jim Turner came up with the name Demolition. And he just looked at me and went, genius. I'm inclined to agree. I think it's genius too.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We're going to be heading off into outer space, literally, in just a few minutes, as we question why the moon has suddenly become a popular destination once again. But first, we're going to look at some road construction, a little bit closer to home. Personally, I know absolutely nothing about road construction, compaction and paving equipment, but I do find it endlessly fascinating creating a highway from nothing. And creating something from nothing is the theme of our final film of the day. So get ready for that. I am going to throw over to the chat very quickly to address this question, or statement probably, from Mick Norton. Mark, the AI newsreader Demolition's bland American accent is awful. She sounds like a Trump PA. Can you change to a regional UK accent? I probably can. I haven't looked. I probably can. But there's two things to bear in mind. A, I thought she looked American, even though she's imaginary. That's not a real person. I thought she looked American. I thought the American hair and the teeth and all that. The other thing you have to remember is this live show, because of the time that it's broadcast, this live show is watched by a couple of hundred people live every day, mainly in the UK and in Europe. But the biggest viewership for this show by a million miles is America. The Americans switch on and watch it on catch up. So I'm trying to break America, people. Trust me, I'm sort of trying to break America. Now, what was I going to say? Let me play this first, and then we'll come back to what I need to do.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
Now, our final film of the day is a long one. It's 9 minutes long, in fact. That means you have approximately 10 minutes to type the word Bobcat into the chat for your chance to win this splendid model. As you can see, it's an S750 skid steer loader. Pretty smart it is too. There you are. If you'd like to win one of those, you have 9 and a bit minutes to type Bobcat into the chat. Now, you might recall that some time ago, we brought you the news that Komatsu was to be part of an organization looking at the feasibility of construction on the moon. At the time, it was quite literally pie in the sky. But apparently, That concept is not quite so outlandish after all.
On August 23, 2023, India stunned the world after its Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft touched down near the moon's south pole, making it the fourth country to achieve such an impressive milestone after the United States, Russia, and China. India and the whole world celebrated this huge and much-needed achievement. For NASA, it was exactly what they expected and wanted from India because it is part of the amazing NASA Artemis Space Mega Project program, which aims to build the first human habitat on the moon. In fact, NASA is now contemplating the construction of several moon stations. This leads us to wonder why many countries are suddenly racing to colonize the moon. What has NASA achieved so far? When will the first habitat be launched? And what are the technologies used in this colossal space mega project? The reason the race to the moon is back on and in full swing has to do with the fact that large amounts of water have been confirmed in the moon's southern pool. This water simply makes moon habitats feasible and possible since it can be used for drinking, farming habitats that produce food for astronauts, scientists, and even space tourists, and as a coolant for equipment and possible small nuclear reactors, such as the mobile small reactors used by the U.S. Army to generate electricity. Additionally, water is an essential component of 3D printing. Autonomous 3D printers can be shipped to the moon and used to build solid habitats via the utilization of the moon's soil along with special polymers. This can mean that instead of sending large habitat modules to the moon, only a 3D printer can be sent along with lightweight, strong polymers that, once mixed with the moon's soil and water, can be used to 3D print habitats with floors, walls, and roofs that are just as strong, if not stronger than concrete, which would make them ultra safe and effective for prolonged use. Water can also be broken down into oxygen for breathing, and hydrogen, which can be used as fuel and in hydrogen fuel cell batteries, among other things. Other reasons include space tourism, military projects, communications, deep space exploration, and mining, since experts believe that the moon holds substantial amounts of rare and precious elements. NASA is perhaps the world's best established space agency and has also become a multinational organization that works with other space agencies and nations that do not have or cannot afford space programs. The Artemis program is simply a massive multi-phase space mega project that aims to build the first human habitats on the moon and pave the way for the colonization of Mars, which will be used for manned missions farther out into the far corners of our solar system and eventually beyond. The first Artemis mission was launched on November 16, 2022 at 8:47 a.m. as Artemis 1 ventured 280,000 kilometers away from planet Earth and beyond the moon to conduct what can be described as Step 1 in preparation for the physical colonization of the moon. Artemis 1 has simply set the stage for Artemis 2, 3, 4, and so on. If everything goes according to plan, we can expect the first manned space station in the moon's orbit by as early as 2026 and a manned habitat on the moon as early as 2028. This majestic and quite intriguing space mega project consists of several parts, starting with the launch complex at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, the Space Launch System, SLS, the Orion spacecraft, the Lunar Gateway, which is a space station that will orbit the moon, the Human Landing System, which will act as a crew habitat on the surface of the moon. You are probably wondering about the permanent habitat. Well, as far as we are aware, NASA will decide what type of permanent habitat they will build on the moon based on results from Artemis missions 2 and 3, and they might outsource the project to SpaceX or Blue Origins. Let's now decipher the various pieces of the Artemis mega project one at a time. The Space Launch System is a super heavy lift rocket that provides the foundation for human exploration beyond Earth's orbit. With its unprecedented capabilities, SLS is the only rocket that can send the Orion spacecraft, 4 astronauts, and large cargo directly to the moon on a single mission. On November 16, 2022, the first SLS, dubbed Artemis 1, launched from NASA Kennedy Space Center's Launch Complex 39B in Florida, making history as the most powerful rocket NASA has ever launched. This high-performance rocket provides the power to help the Orion spacecraft reach a speed of 24,500 miles per hour. It can also carry up to 31 tons. The rocket's core stage features 4 engines called RS-25 engines. Since then, more powerful configurations, hardware, and technologies have been used to make the rocket better. The new rockets are dubbed Block 1B and Block 2 variants. The SLS Block 2 has been designed to lift up to 46 tons to deep space, which is quite an improvement from Block 1. The SLS block also features 2 solid rocket boosters that provide more than 75% of the rocket's thrust during the first 2 minutes of flight. Each booster is 177 feet tall, 12 feet in diameter, weighs 1.6 million pounds, and produces a maximum of 3.6 million pounds of thrust during launch. The Orion spacecraft is the first of its kind and is the only one ever designed for deep space missions. Orion will serve as the exploration vehicle that will carry the crew to space, provide emergency abort capability, sustain astronauts during their missions, and provide safe re-entry from deep space return velocities. The craft consists of 3 parts. The crew module, which is encased in a shield that can withstand temperatures up to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A service module that provides propulsion, thermal control, and thrust, as well as water and air for the crew. This module also features 4 retractable 7-meter-long solar wings that can rotate and pivot to track the sun, and an automated docking system enabling it to merge with the future Lunar Gateway space station for up to 6 months at a time. The third part is the launch abort system, which is a safety system that can react in milliseconds to take the crew module to safety in case of an emergency. It features a powerful solid rocket that can produce 400,000 pounds of thrust and go from 0 to 405 miles in 2 seconds. This takes us to the planned Gateway space station that will orbit the moon and provide extensive capabilities to support NASA's Artemis campaign. Gateway's capabilities are designed to support sustained exploration and research in deep space, including docking ports for a variety of visiting spacecraft, space for the crew to live and work, and onboard science investigations platforms to study heliophysics, human health, and life sciences, among other areas. Gateway will be humanity's first space station in lunar orbit. It will feature the power and propulsion element, which is a high-power, 60-kilowatt solar electric propulsion system that will provide power, high-rate communications, attitude control, and orbital transfer capabilities for the station. This beauty will be launched in 2025 on SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. This station will receive the Orion spacecraft and crew and prepare them for missions on the moon's surface, where they land via the Human Landing System. HLS. The Human Landing System, HLS, is the mode of transportation that will take astronauts to the lunar surface as part of the Artemis program. NASA awarded a contract to SpaceX of Hawthorne, California, for its Starship HLS that will put the first Artemis astronauts on the moon. NASA and SpaceX teams are working together to ensure the company's design meets all of the mission and safety requirements. NASA is also working with Blue Origins along with SpaceX. Each of these 2 space giants will perform 1 uncrewed demonstration mission prior to the use of their system on the Artemis III mission, when finally, man and woman will land on the moon and commence research for the development of a permanent habitat, hopefully by 2030. Because let's face it, we just cannot wait. Thank you for watching, and please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
I found that fascinating, but it did raise a lot of questions, but one in particular. If they can build on the surface of the moon 384,000 kilometers away without the presence of traditional heavy equipment, traditional aggregates, or trained construction professionals, why can't we use those same systems here to provide much-needed new homes? Just a thought. Gary Muirhead also raises a very relevant question. What do all these people know that we don't? Is this planet buggered, and that's why they're all moving to the moon? What I would say, and I realise it's very, very simple to categorise them as Bond villains, but you notice that the people that are leading this charge, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, the Billionaires Boys Club, what is it that they do know that we don't know? Be interested to know. Now, I do need to fire up our randomizer. We've got 14 entries as it stands. If you haven't entered already, please type the word Bobcat into the chat. You've got as long as it takes for me to get the randomizer up on the screen. That's definitely the wrong button. I need that one, and I need that one. There we are. There are 14 entries. Let's make sure you're all looking at the same thing I'm looking at. Okay. Any more for any more? Doesn't look like it. Let me draw to find out who has won our Bobcat scale model. Dan Cullen. Dan Cullen has won himself a Bobcat model. Congratulations, Dan. Let me take you off the screen very quickly. I'm pretty sure I've got your address somewhere, but you might want to send it over to me just in case. But that will be winging its way to you at some point this afternoon. I've got a couple of Zoom calls after today's show. But yeah, it will be going in the post for you today. So congratulations, my friend. Now, there is no gripe of the day today because, as I said, we're going to do a free speech Friday. So if anybody would like to join me on the show, let me fire that bit up. How do I get that? It's there. There we are. It's copied. If you look in the chat right about now, there is a link. If you have access to a smart device or a computer with a webcam and a microphone, you can join me on the show using the link that is just popped up in the chat as we speak. That, of course, wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. Lots of talk about different coloured machines, how long we all sleep. Some of us need a lot less sleep than others. I need a lot. Some people don't. So, yes, come and join us for that. If you can't stick around, please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. But if you do have the time and the inclination, please join us for the Craic. And if you have access to webcams and smart devices, please pop on. Love to welcome you. Now, I need to sign off with sign off the main part anyway, with a final word from our key show sponsor. Good morning, gang. How are we all doing? Let's have a look. Just had a comment come in. Glenn Johnston, fantastic news. Got his hat yesterday. No problem at all. Now, we need to get some music playing in the background here, don't we? What should we go for today? Let's try that one. Oh, yeah, that's got a bit of a Friday feel about it. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Happy Friday. Happy Friday indeed. Let's go back to the very beginning of the chat to see who was first off the mark this morning. Glenn Johnston was actually first off the mark, who has just received his new hat. So good morning all, Glenn. I hope you're wearing it with pride, and send us a photograph if you are. Send us a photograph if you're not, don't mind. Andy Dalvell, another of our previous winners. Good morning to you, Andy, and thank you for becoming a show regular. You now have, let me just check, I want to make sure. Yes, you do now have a button on our stream deck, so that when you arrive I can automatically say good morning to you. You've become that much of a regular. You've made it onto the stream deck. Another person that's on the stream deck is our friend Chris Ford. Salutations on this salutations on this fine Friday. Salutations to you, sir. Verily and forsooth, salutations. Gary Muirhead. Gary, did you like the black machines? I bet you did. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday, everyone. Yeah, I have to say, after the shorter week last week, this week has kind of dragged a bit. It has dragged a bit, so I'm kind of glad it's Friday. Also, just to be absolutely clear, no Saturday social show tomorrow. Mrs. Demolition News has decided I am required elsewhere. She hasn't yet broken the news to me about where, but apparently my presence is required. So you get a Saturday off. I don't know how you'll get by, but Ben Hanratty, good morning all. Good morning to you, Ben. Thank you very much indeed for being here, as always. I'm fairly sure my question of the day is coming up somewhere. There is Dan Cullen, our eventual winner. Good morning to you, Dan. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations again. You're on a bit of a roll, sir, aren't you? You've won a fair few recently. You've not bugged the machine by any chance, have you? There is our friend Leslie. Morning, lads. Morning, lads and ladies. I did see a couple of ladies come and go, which is pretty much the story of my life. There we are. Ken Hatcher's in the house. Morning, Ken. Good morning. He has the Black Hole Sun. Friends of Sound, or the fans of Soundgarden will know exactly what I'm talking about there. Jim Turner is in the house. Jim, thank you very much indeed for your masterstroke of naming our AI newsreader, Demolition. Literally, I told my son, he just went, genius. He's easily pleased. Well done to AR. Yeah, I have to say, if nobody's ever likely to do it, but if somebody approached me and said, I need a demolition contractor that I can trust, who would you recommend? The two first off the top of my head would be AR Demolition and RMAC. And AR Demolition, apparently, the Construction News Specialist Awards believe exactly the same. Not their first win with the Construction News Specialist Awards, so congratulations to Richard Dolman and the team. Really are an absolute top-notch demolition company, without a whiff of scandal about them, which is nice to know, and they do the job properly. Really do. There we are. My question today was quite simply, are you an early bird or a night owl? I am a former night owl and now an early bird. Much rather have an early start than a late finish, if you get my meaning. Mark Whiting, another of our Stream Deck Club. He has his own button, his own dedicated button over on our Stream Deck. Now, I don't know if that actually held Ben back, but he offered up Bob Space Cat. That wouldn't have been recognised by the system. Thankfully, he then goes back and corrects it. Well done, Ben. Sorry he didn't win. However, we do have another and a bigger Bobcat model coming up for grabs fairly soon. There's Chris Fall's entry as well. Ken Hatcher, question of the day. I think I'm both. Yeah, I can't do both. I'm 10 o'clock and I'm thinking, surely it must be time to go to bed right about now. But, you know, if I need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, not a big deal. I mean, I bitch and moan about it, but not a big deal. Question of the day. Always been both, says Peter McKenna. Up early, bed late, too much to miss out. It's a good way to look at it. Andy Darvell says exactly the same. I burn the candle at both ends, always bloody knackered. That is the problem, isn't it? And it's something we touched on this show just a few weeks ago. I was actually asking about your working day. And a lot of people were saying they have to be up at sort of 4:30 to be on the road by 5:30 to drive an hour or 2 hours to get to work, and then they've got a couple of hours to drive back home again. So a lot of people were, and I realise you're not actually at work as such, but a lot of people were racking up 14-hour work days. That's not good. That's not good. I mean, setting aside the whole lack of work-life balance, are you actually getting enough rest if you're doing that? And when you look at some of the I'm not comparing you with super athletes, but you look at who was the basketball player I was reading about? I think it was LeBron James. I'm not a big NBA fan, but LeBron James, apparently he reckons that one of the most important parts of his fitness regime is the fact that he gets 8 or 9 hours sleep a night. Because it allows your body to recuperate and recover. If you're working 14 hours, you're probably not doing that. Peter McKenna, who has got into the habit of offering up additional items for On This Day in History, says, in 1727, a barn fire during a puppet show in the village of Burwell, Cambridgeshire, killed 78 people, 51 of them children. Bloody hell. The doors have been nailed shut to prevent further people getting in. A simple act which was key to the tragedy which resulted. On the 8th of September 2005, a plaque was unveiled at the site of the barn in memorial of the fire. Never heard that story before. You'd have to think that's the makings of a TV drama or a movie even, isn't it? Question of the day, Gary Muirhead. A bit of both. Mind you, as I get older, the earlier I go to bed. That's exactly the same as me. Exactly the same as me. Can't wait to get into bed sometimes. In fact, there have been times recently, and I'm not entirely sure whether it's down to diabetes or a bit of burning the candle at both ends, but I actually have got into the habit, 3 o'clock, 3:30, actually having a 20-minute nap. I'm sure it's just an age thing, probably nothing to worry about. But yeah, that's probably not good. Mick Norton is in the house as well. Morning, Mick. Who, as we're about to find out, doesn't like Demolition's voice. Paul Latham is in the house and entered the competition, but unfortunately he missed out this time. But good morning, Pete, to you, Paul. I can't remember what it was you were awarded, but Paul has achieved some kind of religious promotion. I don't know how you voice it, but I saw that on LinkedIn the other day and never got round to actually saying congratulations. So congratulations. Peter McKenna says most of the quarries up by me use cat. Yeah, a lot of quarries do, but I'm fairly sure, I know with a lot of these systems, they are now working cross-platform. So I don't think it actually matters which manufacturer's equipment you're using, because the equipment that is bolted onto it, sensors and transmitters and all that kind of thing, they work cross-platform. Justin Carrigan joined us as well. Had a sniff of a prize, probably. But Justin Carrigan, as most of you probably know, he is the Scouse voice of Awesome Earth Movers. Morning, Justin. If you're not following Awesome Earth Movers, and I can't believe that is the case, make sure you do so over on Instagram, on YouTube, and get yourself a copy of their Awesome Earth Movers magazine. It's setting new standards, people. It really is. And they're not paying me to say that. Although, Justin, if you'd like to pay me to say that, I'm happy to do so. But no, Awesome Earth Movers doing a fantastic job. Chris, Dale, Justin, fantastic. Top job, fellas. Once you go back black, there's no looking back. I've heard that before, but not in this context. The black JCBs look a real sexy piece of kit. Andy Darvell agrees. The mutts nuts. There's an expression that I don't get to use anywhere near often enough. Ken Hatcher says, I think black paint looks okay, but as health and safety thing, yellow is the best for visibility. You can't see black. Does anyone, I know we don't have too many football fans in the house, but you may recall somewhere about, I'm going to take a wild stab at about 20 years ago. At the time, Manchester United reigned supreme. They were unbeatable, both in the domestic league, but also in the Champions League. Unbeatable. And then for reasons best known to themselves, they added it was either a second or a third kit, which was grey. And they played somebody fairly lowly and got beaten. And Sir Alex Ferguson, who frankly knows a thing or two about football, blamed the kit. He reckoned, I think it was a night game, and he said it was harder to pick for Man United players to pick out their fellow players. So I think, as far as I remember, that kit got one outing and then never saw the light of day again, because frankly it didn't see the light of day. It just blended the players into the background and made them indistinguishable. So yeah, Ken Hatcher may well have a point. Stick steer seems to be more popular in newer wheel loader equipment. It does, and yet I'm sure we've had this discussion before. I've had one go at stick steer on a Cat 966. Couldn't get the hang of it at all. Could not get the hang of it at all. It felt wrong. Imagine getting into your car and having stick steer. I'm sure it would work perfectly well. And, you know, I've played video games in the past, so I know how stick steer works and all that. But it feels odd. It's like you should be using two hands for things, like a steering wheel. To be using one and just using your wrist, it feels weird. Anybody else? If anybody else has had a go, let me know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just a pillock. Question of the day: the early bird catches the worm. My dad always says, if you weren't in bed by 10 o'clock, give up and go home. Yeah, I should be in bed by 10 o'clock. I very rarely am. I'm sat there boring myself with AI systems most of the night. Graham Williams said, Henry Ford once said, you can have our cars in any colour you like, so long as it's black. He did say that. Peter McKenna, was your dad a dairy farmer or a truck driver, Chris Ford? My dad was a chauffeur, but he was of the same belief. Dan Callan says, I like the way she moves her head. I like the way you move. Yeah, indeed. Oddly realistic, right? And that's where I think AI still has a little bit to do. I've recreated myself as an AI wearing this. And because it mistook these glasses for my eyes, it made my glasses blink, which just looks weird. And yet, when you give it the right photograph to work with, you know, the moving of the head, even her hair moves a little bit, she blinks, her mouth moves. It's almost there. Although, as I say, Mick Norton, not a fan of the voice. But I've been both, says Chris Ford. You've been both a dairy farmer and a truck driver. Wow. If I was AI, that would be my hottie bit of totty, says Peter McKenna. I can turn you into an AI if you'd like, Peter. I can. I mean, I won't, but I could. Graham Williams says, what does he say? My dad always says certain things. Things, let me see, you don't always want certain things you don't always want to do in life, but you have to do them to get on. yeah being polite to a boss who is quite clearly an idiot, that's one. Chris a day, I'm an early bird Monday to Friday, and Friday and Saturday late owl, says Dan Cullen, party animal in our midst. Here we are, is Mick Norton. AI newsreader, Demolition. Demolition's bland American accent is awful. She sounds like a Trump PA. Find that slightly offensive. Can you change to a regional UK accent? Listen, I can't change her outfit. I can change her background. I can't change her outfit. I'm pretty sure I can change her accent. But as I say, our biggest audience for these shows and pretty much everything else we do is in America. And besides, there's something of newsreadery, news anchors in my head. I think of newsreaders as very stuffy Angela Rippon types here in the UK, whereas news anchors I think of as American. Hey, listen, there's not a huge amount of thought goes into these things. There is lots of entries there for our competition. It was eventually won by Dan Cullen, wasn't it? Gary Muirhead. Hey, India want to go to the sun next, but they're going to wait until night time when it will be cooler. Heard that joke applied before. Think to the Irish, not to the Indians. Now, I'm still going through the chat, but somebody else has just joined us. Good day, Peter.
Hello. I'm just showing everybody how easy it is. Click a few buttons. Follow. It's dead simple. Click the link. Press a few buttons, and here we are.
I hate to be churlish about these things, but are you naked right now?
No, not from the waist down.
Thank the Lord. I find it slightly uncomfortable talking to naked men over the internet. The less said about that, the better. How you doing, Peter? Anyway,
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. Just a quick point. Graham Williams, as you know, he's a bit dyslexic, and these people that produce these earth-moving magazines don't seem to have copies of them actually digitally voice related.
No, you're absolutely right. There is an issue with media accessibility, and that's one of the reasons, you know, when we do our recorded videos, we put captions on them, and YouTube and LinkedIn will actually put captions on this after the event and that kind of thing. So yeah, but it is the one thing I would say, and I would certainly say it about Awesome Earth Movers, probably more than Earth Movers itself, is it's very, very photo heavy. So yes, you're not getting the full story, but they do some fantastic photographs. But it is an issue, and you know, the more I speak to Graham, the more you realise just what a challenge being dyslexic can actually be. You know, I mean, he sends me voice messages, 3, 4, 5 a day, and it's literally little things that he's thought of. But you know, whereas you and I know you're very active on our WhatsApp group, Peter. You know, whereas you and I would reach for the phone, tappy, 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 and away it goes. He's got to sit down, dictate it, make sure that it sounds right, and then send it on. It's an absolute ball ache. It really is. I don't know how he gets by. I really don't.
He's a fantastic bloke, though. I've had quite a few conversations with him lately, especially on the boot saga. But he has now sourced a pair of boots, so hopefully he'll have a pair of boots to go to work in.
Yeah, fantastic. But did he tell you the story about his medical?
Yes, the Sequos Medical. Yeah, that's. I've been trying to sort that with him. I mean, I know Mick Norton's helped him out. There is a place in Cardiff that he can go to, but that's a couple of hours away, like.
Yeah.
And I just think it's scandalous. I mean, HGV drivers, you can go to your local NHS service and get a medical with them. And a lot of the NHS service providers are actually Sequos affiliated. So why can't they actually do digger medicals as well as HGV medicals?
Yeah, I mean, just to fill people in that didn't hear the beginning of this, our friend Graham has been on the sidelines for a little while. He's now coming back into the fold and going back to work, but he was offered a job that required him to have, as Peter has just said, a medical. He is based in Paignton in Devon, and at first glance, it appeared that the nearest medical that he could get was about 300 miles away. As it turns out, it's actually in Cardiff. But even, I mean, as you've just said, Paignton to Cardiff, it's not exactly a pop there and back, is it? I mean, that's a day of your day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the easiest one. And I mean, I sent him a thing for Devon, well, Exeter's NHS, and he rang them and they said, you'll have to get in touch with your doctor. So we've got in touch with his doctor, and his doctor went, yeah, well, we do HGV medical, but with no provision for doing diggers. We'll have to find something out. So hopefully, you never know, he might just find something out. But why is it so restrictive to get these Sequos medicals?
Yeah. And if it's the lack of joined up thinking. I fully understand the need for medicals and that kind of thing. I do appreciate that. I think it's overkill, but I do appreciate that. But if you're going to put it in a system whereby, in order to be employed, you need a medical, you need to make sure that those medicals are available up and down the country, literally John O'Groats to Land's End, and all points in between. Yeah.
Right. Anyhow, I'll let you get back to chat because you're coming up close to the end of the show and you've still got a lot to get through. So we'll catch you in a bit, Mike.
Okay, go and put some clothes on.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, Peter. Yes, that's how easy it is. Just press the button and come on. Put some clothes on, maybe. It's entirely up to you. Question of the day, Chris Ford. When I was agricultural contracting, I once did 3 days solid on the bale wrapper. Is this early bird or night owl or just plain foolish? Also done a lot of nights over the years. When I was younger, I walked in on Saturday morning, got changed and gone to work. Yeah, as I say, I mean, back in the day, and I realise that my job is not what you'd call particularly taxing because I'm sat on my arse most of the time. But I've done that before, when we were getting ready for exhibitions and stuff like that. Literally started work at 8 o'clock in the morning, and 8 o'clock the following morning, I'm still sat there. So yes, it is possible. I wouldn't recommend it, but it is possible. There's Peter McKenna. ET is going to be pissed. I think he is if we all pitch up in his backyard. Dan Cullen, can't they leave anything alone? But this is unbelievable. Yeah, it certainly is. Peter McKenna used to do 24-hour shifts on Liverpool docks on the straddle carriers. Chris Ford. When we go on about electrification, how are they going to power the rocket to go to the moon? Lots and lots and lots of fuel. And then once they get up there, apparently, they are going to crack the whole hydrogen thing and be able to do it on the moon, even though we haven't quite mastered how to do it right here yet. It's high time they did something to colonise other worlds in this vast expanse, says Peter McKenna philosophically. Do wonder. Gary Muirhead says, I want to know what all these people know that we don't. Is this planet that buggered that all moving to the moon? Yeah, if ever I bump into Messrs. Bezos, Musk, or Branson, I'll ask the question. Dan Cullen, how much rubbish is already in space now, and they're adding more? Dead right. Question of the day, Jim Turner. I'm either early bird or night owl, depending on what I'm doing. I can get by on 3 to 4 hours sleep, like Margaret Thatcher, apparently. And I can also sleep anywhere and any time if there's nothing to do. And work for over 24 hours if I need to. That's sleeping anywhere. I went to see England playing in the World Cup. I can't remember if it was 96 or 98 down in France, and went out the night before the game, had a good time. This is back when I was drinking, had a good time. Then on the way to the game, it went by train. We were staying in Nice, and the game was in Marseille. On the way back, the whole fatigue hangover thing caught up with me, and there were no seats available because it was jam-packed with England fans. But there was a ledge maybe 8 inches above the ground. I reckon this ledge was about that wide. I reckon at most it was 3 inches, and I managed to lodge my posterior on it and slept for about 10 minutes. Basically balanced on my coccyx. Wouldn't recommend it, but I can sleep anywhere as well. There we are. Any words come to mind is awesome. Yeah, that's a building on the moon. I've been to that launch pad in NASA. Yeah, you are a bit of a space fan, aren't you, Ken? I know you've mentioned that in the past. Peter McKenna says, I reckon they know the Earth is going to go through its cleansing cycle next. It does make you wonder. Dan was our winner today. Lots of people saying congratulations to him. Lots and lots of people saying congratulations to him, which is awesome. Even more. And there is, just to prove that we do actually send out the prizes that we're offering, Glenn Johnston has now got his hat. Peter McKenna says, come on, peeps, don't be shy. Click the link and join the show live. To be honest, it was a bit of a throwaway thing. Maybe it is something that works better on a Saturday, because I do realise that people are currently at work and quite possibly just listening and not watching. So there we are. Andy Darvell says, would love to join live, but I'm in a machine. Next time we do a Saturday social, and don't forget, I mean, this could be the way that you help me out. On the 23rd of September, which is just a couple of weeks away, we're going for the marathon. We're going to be doing a marathon live stream. So if anybody would like to come on the show and talk a lot to save me having to, or to allow me to have a cup of coffee or something like that, please join me. It's a Saturday. It'll be the 23rd of September. We're going for the record. Can you ask who would like it? Is I won one before? Bugger. I tell you what, if you want me to put it back in, Dan, let me know and I will put it back in. And we'll draw it again next week. Let's have a look. Average HGV driver works 3 15-hour shifts a week. That can't be good, and it can't be right. I'd love to get it, but unfortunately there's no audio copies about. Therein lies an issue. There are, what I would say, and I probably forgot to mention it while I was talking to Peter there. No, there are not audio versions of Awesome Earth Movers, as far as I know. There are not audio versions of Earth Movers or any of the other lesser magazines that are out there. But there are podcasts. There are podcasts out there. Obviously, we've got our own Demolition News Radio, which you can find on all good podcast platforms, including Spotify. There is Nigel Williams from the Seat of the Cab. If you're an operator and you like to hear from other operators from the Seat of the Cab, personally recommend that one. Peter Haddock's Content with Media podcast. I haven't listened to one for a little while. I'm listening to a book series at the moment, so I'm not doing too many podcasts. But I know Peter's Content with Media podcasts are very good, particularly if you're into the tech of the business. So go give that a check as well. Stick steer is awesome, says Peter McKenna. Straddle carriers on container ports work in the same way. You're so much less fatigued at the end of the day. I'm sure that's the case. It just feels unnatural. Then again, I feel fairly unnatural in any type of equipment anyway. He is naked for sure, lad. It did look like it, didn't it? I was just so relieved he didn't stand up at any point. Talking to naked men on the internet, the mind boggles. When you're in a hole, stop digging. I'm going to stop digging. Let's have a look. 2 hours and 2.5 hours, 130 miles from Paignton to Cardiff for a medical. It's got to be a better way, isn't there? So what is the difference between a plant medical and an HGV? I don't know. Too hot for t-shirts, even got a fan blowing wind through my hair. I'd have the same if I had a fan and some hair. Chris Ford, about £100, just more money out of your pocket. Yeah, quite right. I'm back working now, but I'll do a live another time. We'd love to have you on, Jim, at some point. And Peter McKenna, I used to do 90 hours a week on trucks, earning 600 per week. Now on machines, I do half that many hours for double the money. Happy days. Happy days. Right, people. That's an hour. That's a week. That's us done. All done and dusted. Go and have a fantastic afternoon. I don't know what the weather is doing where you are, but the sun is shining and the birds are singing right now here in leafy Surrey. So I'm going to enjoy a bit of that. So yes, go and have a good weekend. You've all learned it, and if your boss asks, you can tell them. Tell you what, there you are. That's very kind of you. Dan Cullen, can you send the Bobcat to Mr. Footy Williams? I can, and I will. Graham, you just won yourself, sort of won yourself a Bobcat model. I will need your address, but if you can get me your address, I'll get that over to you henceforth and forthwith. I'm just trying to think of the best way for you to do that. I know you send me voice messages on WhatsApp, Graham. Do that, and if I have any problems with your address, I will let you know. How about that? Peter McKenna says, Byle, thank you very much indeed for popping on. Have a good one, says Chris Ford, and nice one, Dan, says Peter McKenna. Everybody, please, if your boss asks you otherwise, I said you have permission to take it easy today. It's Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you Monday. And till then, all the very best.